Thanks to those of you that are joining me live and those that are tuning in via the recording. Thanks for taking the time to watch. I just, those of you that have been following me for a while will know that I've written a couple of books on sacred union. And it is pivotal now that we understand the social structures that create a tantric lifestyle. Now, the word tantra, it means to weave. Okay, so we think about the twin serpents of light, the meridians of feminine and masculine. When we weave those together through understanding and empowering each of the feminine and masculine archetypal energies that govern the main um, energy centers within our body, then we raise those serpents on the central pillar and we create the caduceus within our bodies. And this activates a level of self-mastery and wholeness, which then prepares us to enter into mature unions where, like the mandala, you have two whole beings coming together and creating that beautiful sacred symbol of union that we see at, Glastonbury and other sacred sites. And this symbol of the mandala was actually the sort of secret greeting for people that served the Grail, which was the ancient religion of love, when the powers that be were persecuting those that disseminated the Grail mysteries. And so when people would meet, they would draw a circle in the dirt, and if the other person did a circle that intercepted it, they would know, oh, you also seek the truth, and you seek to live in communion with the earth and the natural cycles, which are some of the key teachings of the Grail. Because Tantra, when a lot of people, particularly in the West, think of Tantra, they think of getting it on, chicka bow wow, which, all well and good. And yes, that is a part of it, but it kind of conveys our very immature relationship to sex. And I speak about that in a lot more detail if you're interested in a video masterclass on my website, themoonwoman.com, in my initiation series. And it's on, the taboo of sexuality and understanding that taboo and reclaiming a more a right relationship with our human sexuality. Because Tantra ultimately is not just about weaving together the feminine and masculine aspects within ourselves to become whole. It's also about weaving a lifestyle with the ebb and flow of the natural cycles. That includes the solar cycle, the lunar cycle, the seasonal cycle, and the planetary cycles. So these are cycles within cycles within cycles. And the Magdalens that taught the Grail mysteries would initiate people into living in alignment with these cycles in order to harness and fulfill their potential. It's like, the sacred spiral that we know as the Fibonacci sequence, or the golden ratio. It's the divine blueprint for us to fulfill our divine potential. So when we live in alignment with these cycles, we activate our fullest potential. Whereas when we're disconnected from the natural cycles, we don't grow gracefully, we don't spiral out and upwards in a never-ending circuit of evolution and ascension. Instead, through ignorance, through lack of initiation, we unconsciously, passively spiral down in a state of entropy, And this sabotages our fullest potential and what it is that we're here to make manifest in physical, incarnate form. So, due to um, these sacred practices being outlawed by the Roman Empire and then being distorted, demonized, we lost our way. Okay, we, um, you know, for the sort of the group mind, sexuality has become synonymous with power, and we see that with the number of people that are addicted to porn, which is about getting off on power. Okay, um, and that is to come from the solar plexus. In fact, there are 7 lovemaking languages. These pertain to the different energy gates, and I speak about those in my Sacred Union books if you're interested to know more. But the reason I wanted to jump on this video today is, first of all, the moon, as I'm recording this, is in Libra, the sign of relationships, the sign of balance and harmony between opposites. But it's also a very powerful day today. Today is a seasonal vortex. So for those in the Southern Hemisphere like me, today is Lamaz, also known as Lughnasadh. These are Celtic terms, but it refers to the halfway point between the summer solstice, the longest day of the most light, and the autumn equinox, the day between the 2 solstices, when we have equal light and dark. So today is a day of accelerated growth. And if you want to know more specifically about this gateway and about all the seasonal vortices, I invite you to subscribe. I send out updates for each one of them and suggestions as to how you can harness the energies in my membership club. The sign up is on the homepage, themoonwoman.com. For those of you in the Northern Hemisphere, today is the halfway point between the winter solstice, so the shortest day, the dark night, and the spring equinox. So this is a day called Imbolc, and it's when the first light, the first aha moments of insight penetrate into the psyche, into the cave, and illuminate what has held us back in the last annual cycle, so that there can be an epiphany, because all change starts with a single thought. So it's about having a realization that will then facilitate growth in the coming spring. So you may experience some kind of initiation today in your waking world, or even an internal sort of, oh, I've got to, step up. I've got to take action. There's something I need to do so that I am growing rather than atrophying through passivity. So some of you may know I have a couple of facilitator trainings coming up starting this coming Monday, February 8. And these are for people who feel called to be holders of sacred space, to hold a space for these ancient sacred community practices that are men's circles and women's circles, but they're not random. They are specifically held at power windows that align with the solar and the lunar cycle to facilitate the healing and empowerment of the sacred masculine, for the men aligning with the solar cycle, and for women to heal and empower the feminine within themselves by aligning with the lunar cycle. Now, these practices are part of a tantric lifestyle. So, and I'll explain what I mean by that. So, if we are to dance harmoniously with our opposite, okay, then we need to be in right relationship with ourselves, okay? That is the foundation for all of our relationships, okay, be it as partners, friends, work colleagues, family members, parents, and so on. So, sitting in circle is a practice that ensures we are in right relationship with ourselves, that we have a reset each month where we make a commitment to go and face ourselves, to do the work of looking at that which is uncomfortable, the shadow, that which we've denied, maybe we're compulsively avoiding and running away from by being, busy. But we take our power back when we consciously go towards our shadow, when we explore it, when we are mature enough to go into the wound rather than run away from it, which is what we do when we're immature. We distract ourselves with social things and, taking lots of lovers that will validate our ego, that we're lovable and beautiful and all the rest of it, rather than doing the deep work of relationship with the self. And, it's lovely to have on top of that self-love, the love of sisterhood or brotherhood, because all of this helps to fill our cup so that we're not pining for somebody, okay? Please come and prove to me how lovable I am. Come and fill my cup, rescue me from my unhappiness. But instead, we are filling our cup, okay, our grail, with self-love, with the love of community, with sisterly, brotherly love, with the love of the divine. So our cup runneth over. And, this creates a vortex. It magnetizes people to us rather than us being needy and emotionally out of balance and, having infatuations and sort of, crushing on people where we're desperate to possess a love object, which is when we're immature emotionally. And, that is sold as love to us on the airwaves, in popular music. It's not love, it's need, it's dependency, it's love addiction. So circle supports us when we're single, okay, so that we're held and we're loved and we have a safe space to go in and look at that which sabotages love, which is our wound, our shadow. Now, the other thing that, men's circles and women's circles do is they support healthy relationships. So when we do meet someone and we venture into intimacy, into me see, right? It's a guarantee that that is going to bring up our wounds, okay? Because intimacy is intense, okay? The more sex that we have, it's like it stirs up what's sitting in the subconscious, in Pandora's box, in the base chakra. And so rather than, having these volatile unions where you fight and fuck to make up, right? There's this support so that whatever the union is evoking, okay, whatever trauma it's triggering, whether that's from previous relationships, family of origin, past lives, or all the above, you have a safe space to process it, okay? So rather than, going into a state of paralysis through overanalysis and inner conflict, or making choices that really dishonor oneself, okay, and lead to more and more emotional dysregulation. You've got this circle that helps you to keep a balanced perspective, looking at both the light and the shadow in yourself, in your partner, in the relationship dynamic, so that you can leave circle and return to the relationship clearer, more balanced, more loving, and able to articulate what was triggered for you, so that you don't unconsciously act it out and wound your partner and destroy the relationship and trust, but rather you're able to bring a mature, distilled wisdom and share what you've learned about yourself, and be grateful for the triggering, be grateful for the processing, because then we're able to do relationship as a path of spiritual growth, okay? But we can't do that without support, which is why, you know, in marriage ceremonies, my absolute favorite moment in the whole wedding ceremony is when, and it's not always done, but it's when the celebrant turns to the crowd after the couple have said their vows and said, I do. And they say to everybody, or their inner circle who love them, their family and friends, who will support this couple to uphold their vows? And everyone yells out, we do. And so that's the piece that's been missing from modern relationships, because, you know, due to the age of empires, we've all been isolated, increasingly so, through the strategy of divide and conquer. You know, we are easier to rule when we are disempowered, when we are isolated. So the key to turning it around is to come together, is to gather, okay, in circle regularly, because that helps us to coagulate. It helps us to come together again, to reassemble all the disparate parts of ourselves, so that all of us can show up to our relationships and not sabotage them, which, you know, that is a pandemic. We have a divorce rate of nearly 50%, and people are spending 30,000 on average on the wedding and another 30,000 on average on the divorce. So, you know, we've got a really sad state of affairs. And I'm very passionate, those of you that have followed me for a while will know, in restoring the ancient religion of the Grail. And so all the courses that I channel and facilitate were all ancient practices that were part of the ancient Grail religion before it was stamped out by the Roman Empire. So I'm most excited in the near future to be able to start training sacred union facilitators. And this is work that I see myself doing in person, not online, but training men and women to be holders of sacred space for couples, okay, to do a 7-stage initiation journey, which I've facilitated with many couples, but also holding mixed circles for men and women at full moon, which is the time of union. And so the trainings that I am now offering online are the prerequisite trainings for the Sacred Union Facilitator trainings, which will be offered when we are able to travel freely again, and people can attend live events without fear of having to cancel flights due to lockdowns or imposed medical procedures and things like that. And that time will come, I have no doubt of it. So now is a time for just setting things up, all the structures for the new earth and the return to Eden that we are collectively birthing. So yeah, if you're interested in the Sacred Union Facilitator training, then I encourage you to check out the Red Tent and 12 Sons Facilitator training to learn how to hold men's circles and women's circles, to support men and women to know who they are as men and women, to heal their foundation gender so that they have the support to seek out partnerships, and only stay in partnerships where they feel truly seen, heard, and met on all levels as a soul by others that are equally committed to fulfilling their divine potential, those that have a growth mindset. Because if we don't honor ourselves enough to be discerning about who we enter into sacred union with, we end up in codependent unions. These are not sacred unions, these are mundane unions where people come together out of need, out of fear of being alone, out of wanting to be unconsciously taken care of. This is the unhealed, wounded child unconsciously projecting surrogate parent onto their partner. For a woman that's wanting to be fathered, and for a man that's wanting to be mothered. So what happens when we stay in a union that is not challenging us to grow, okay, because the other person is not committed to their own growth through regular practices, is we start to shrink instead of growing. We atrophy, and we become more and more polarized as we only do that which feels comfortable. So we stay in our comfort zone and we kind of play small and appeal to the other person to pick up the slack, so to speak, And the more polarized we are, the more there is the chance of conflict or tension, whether that's outwardly expressed or internally if it eats away at us. So, if we want to have a union where we do respect our partner, where we feel attracted to our partner, then both parties equally need to be embracing their own growth, taking full responsibility for regularly doing a practice where they're looking at their shadow and looking at where it is they're sabotaging themselves, and step up. So I hope that that's been insightful for you. I'll put the links for the 2 courses with this video. If you've got any questions at all about the trainings, don't hesitate to get in touch. The admin email is admin@themoonwoman.com. Just drop us a line and I will happily respond to your questions. So I'd be thrilled to have those of you who feel called to support men and women to create more harmonious unions through these foundation practices that are essential if we're going to do intimacy in a way that is healthy and conscious, and not simply re-wound each other. So thanks for listening, everybody, and I hope